The Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme is one of the largest financial frauds in history, a scandal that shook the financial world and left thousands of victims in its wake. Over a span of decades, Madoff built a facade of trust and success, only for his empire to crumble in 2008, revealing the shocking truth. His investment firm was a house of cards. This is the story of Bernie Madoff, a man whose name became synonymous with greed and betrayal. In this deep dive, we'll explore how he orchestrated his Ponzi scheme, the lives he destroyed, and the aftermath of his historic fall. Bernard Lawrence Madoff was born on April 29, 1938, in Queens, New York. Raised in a working-class Jewish family, Madoff showed an early interest in business and entrepreneurship. He studied political science at Hofstra University and briefly attended law school before dropping out to focus on his growing business interests. In 1960, with just $5,000 earned from working as a lifeguard and a sprinkler installer, Madoff founded Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities, LLC. Starting as a legitimate penny stock trader, Madoff eventually transitioned into a market-making firm, gaining a reputation for innovation and reliability. By the 1970s, Madoff's firm was among the first to use computer technology for stock trades, solidifying his position as a forward-thinking leader in the financial world. He also became a prominent figure in Wall Street circles, serving as chairman of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. On the surface, Bernie Madoff was the embodiment of success, a savvy businessman, philanthropist, and trusted financial advisor. But beneath the surface, something far darker was brewing. The foundation of Bernie Madoff's fraud was the classic Ponzi scheme, named after Charles Ponzi, who orchestrated a similar scam in the 1920s. In a Ponzi scheme, early investors are paid returns using the funds from newer investors, creating the illusion of profitability. Madoff's scheme began modestly but escalated as his reputation grew. He promised consistent, above-average returns, claiming to use a split-strike conversion strategy, a legitimate-sounding but overly complex investment approach. This strategy was a smokescreen, and no real trading occurred. Instead, Madoff used money from new investors to pay returns to existing ones, reinforcing his image as a financial wizard. His charm, coupled with a veneer of exclusivity, attracted a network of high-net-worth individuals, hedge funds, charities, and institutional investors. Madoff exploited his clients' trust, portraying himself as a low-profile but highly capable manager. He even turned away potential investors to create an aura of exclusivity, making his fund appear even more desirable. The victims of Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme spanned the globe, and their losses totaled an estimated $65 billion. From wealthy elites to everyday retirees, the fallout was devastating. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of the scheme was how Madoff preyed on personal relationships. Many of his clients were friends, acquaintances, or members of the Jewish community who trusted him implicitly. Philanthropic organizations, universities, and charities also invested heavily with Madoff, believing their funds were secure. When the scheme unraveled, the consequences were catastrophic. Entire life savings were wiped out, leaving retirees destitute. Nonprofit organizations were forced to shut down, and families were left grappling with financial ruin. Among the notable victims were celebrities like Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick, Nobel laureate Elie Wiesel, and countless others who had entrusted Madoff with their wealth. The scale of the betrayal was almost unimaginable, and the ripple effects would be felt for years to come. The financial crisis of 2008 was the catalyst that brought Bernie Madoff's scheme crashing down. As markets plummeted, investors scrambled to withdraw their funds. Madoff's operation, built entirely on illusion, could not meet the demands. On December 10, 2008, Madoff confessed the truth to his sons, Mark and Andrew, who worked at his firm but were unaware of the scheme. He described his business as one big lie and admitted that it was over. The following day, his sons reported him to federal authorities. On December 11, 2008, Bernie Madoff was arrested and charged with securities fraud. The news sent shockwaves through Wall Street and the world. Madoff's reputation, meticulously crafted over decades, was destroyed overnight. Investigators quickly discovered the full extent of the fraud. Forensic accountants sifted through decades of fake records, revealing the intricate web of lies that Madoff had spun to sustain the scheme. In June 2009, Bernie Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in federal prison, the maximum sentence allowed. Judge Denny Chin called his crimes extraordinarily evil, noting the irreparable harm he had caused to so many. Madoff expressed remorse for his actions, but for many victims, his apologies rang hollow. The sheer scale of the fraud and the personal nature of the betrayal left deep scars that could never fully heal. Efforts to recover the lost funds were spearheaded by Irving Picard, a court-appointed trustee. Picard and his team pursued lawsuits against Madoff's associates and beneficiaries of the scheme, recovering billions of dollars for the victims. However, many victims received only a fraction of their losses, and some were left with nothing. The scandal also sparked widespread criticism of regulatory agencies, particularly the SEC, which had failed to act on repeated warnings about Madoff's operations. The case became a symbol of systemic failure in the oversight of financial institutions. Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme left a lasting legacy, both as a cautionary tale and a stark reminder of the darker side of human ambition. His actions shattered the lives of thousands and undermined trust in financial systems worldwide. For Madoff's family, the fallout was equally devastating. His son Mark died by suicide in 2010, unable to cope with the shame and scrutiny brought on by his father's actions. Andrew Madoff, Bernie's other son, died of cancer in 2014. Both insisted they were unaware of the fraud. Madoff himself remained incarcerated until his death in 2021 at the age of 82. He spent his final years in a North Carolina prison, a far cry from the lavish lifestyle he once enjoyed. The case prompted changes in regulatory oversight and a renewed focus on transparency in financial management. But for the victims, no amount of reform could erase the pain of what they had endured. The Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme is a story of ambition, deception, and betrayal on an unprecedented scale. It serves as a sobering reminder of the importance of vigilance and accountability in the financial world. For the victims, the scars of Madoff's actions will never fully heal. But their resilience, coupled with the lessons learned from this tragedy, stands as a testament to the human spirit. Thank you for joining me as we explored the rise and fall of Bernie Madoff. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most infamous cases.